My name is Jeff Carpenter, and I'm director of the Art Accelerator program here in Berea. And today we have we think, one of the best artists we've ever worked with in the program. He is a master illustrator. He does great demonstrations. He has a huge fan base. And whenever tourists come into town, we have him give a demonstration at the tourism department because he's so good at it and the people love him. And then they follow him up to the gallery so they can really look at his collection of work. He is Brian Wylie, and he is Berea born, and it's great to have a hometown guy with this much talent that continues our tradition of the fine arts in the city of Berea. So I introduce you to Brian Wylie.
Well, thank you, Jeffrey. Yes, I'm Brian Wylie.
What's your shirt say?
It's just an old shirt, Framebridge. I used to work there. But that's it. That'd be okay here. I'm an illustrator, painter, muralist, creator in general. I've been doing this for a very long time. Well, all my life, pretty much, but very professionally and seriously for the last 15 years, I would say. The last few years, I've been kind of experimenting with the portraits or with the graphite. There's only so much you could do with it, up to a point. And so I was kind of experimenting with adding gold leaf to things or little accents. In here, there's one in there with some blue eyes, which makes it pop. But yeah, I'm just trying to find different avenues and different things to do with this art form here. And like Jeffrey said, I've been giving demonstrations at the Tourism Center, which is the old train station. And the tour groups, it's wonderful to show people and to demonstrate this because they have so many questions, and I just love answering their questions. I really do. And I've been teaching drawing classes here lately. I'm offering those at the gallery. And the class that I have now, they're wonderful. They're so eager to learn, and they're just like little sponges, and they just soak it all up, and they have so many questions. It's great. It's personally very rewarding for me. I have set up a little demonstration today, and I think if we have time, I have a kind of a neat surprise. You don't even know that, Jeffrey. So I want to explain here just some of my materials that I use before I get going. This is my graded graphite set, and each one is, like I said, graded because they have a designation, H, HB, 6B, and those just mean different things.
What does that mean? What is it, H?
H stands for hardness in the pencil, and they range from, say, 4H, which is a very hard, very light graphite. And then it continues on down the scale to the B scale, which is blackness. And the higher the number, the blacker the pencil, and also the softer. And in this set, I have a 12B. And it's an interesting thing. Whenever I get a new set, I always take every single pencil out, mark it to see if they're consistent gradient along the scale. And so I've done that. I don't have that here now, but...
So that's what those little squares are for in the corners of your work.
In the corners of the work, like here, that's just my quick reference for that piece.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because I don't want to have to use all 12 pencils on every single piece, so, and it's really unnecessary.
Do you sell them with those markings on them?
I do.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, they can frame it, mat it up to the lines that I've sketched out around there, and that's all that information, the size, and I even put my start date, my finish date on this, and other information, who it's for.
Matted showing it. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah, none of my clients have ever told me that they matted it to show that part, but that would be
Maybe they
interesting.
didn't know they could demonstrate it.
For sure, yeah.
Have an example.
But yeah, that's just quick reference. I'll pull out my highlight tones or values and my mid-tone values. And just so I could quickly pick it, you know, I don't have to search for it. And here, yeah, I've even included the gold too.
That's cool.
So. Okay, so those are my pencils. Let me give you a quick demonstration here on the shades. And this is neat. This is what I teach my class too. It's from my drawing class. Okay. Sometimes when I get a new set and I do this test, I guess, sometimes it's surprising the differences in this. So, and this is an H. Like I said, they go all the way up to 6H, which is a very, very light pencil. I'll just set up a little box here. So, now I won't do all of them, just to show you here. This is an H. Okay. And it doesn't matter how hard I push on this, it will not get any darker than this. Okay, so that's the H. We'll go up to B, or let's see, HB. This is hard and black. You can tell it's a little bit darker. The value is just a little darker. And I'm putting good pressure on this to get the actual value out of the pencil. I don't have to worry about light pressure or nothing. I just use the value of the pencil. Okay. Moving on to, say, a B.
Mm.
And so for people starting off with your classes, how
Mhm.
how much do you stress like having like, the proper equipment or just like using regular pencils?
Well, it's my philosophy there's no real rules to art, like you're not supposed to do this, or I don't believe in all that, but you should know your materials.
Mm.
That's very important. The kind of paper that you're using, the kind of pencils you're using. I found that even the same grade of pencil in two different sets will be two different values. I mean, completely different almost. And so that's why you want to stick with one set from one brand, I think. And it's important to experiment around to see what different kinds of brands. There have been pencils.
Down paper you put through your copy machine, when there's 24 by 36, 500 of those stacked, it weighs 60 pounds. And that's the difference in how you get weight.
So that's a black right there. Already, that's just 4. Go up to 6. And when you start getting up to this level of the pencils, they get really soft. And so sometimes they'll break easy, which this one just did.
Do they get more dusty as they get
They
softer?
do, so there's a lot of this.
More smeary?
Yeah, so you gotta be
Yeah.
very careful
Yeah.
when you get up there. You can see all this dust coming off of it. We're almost done. HB. Yeah, at a point you're like, really, that can't get any darker. Yes, it can. Okay, this one kind of broke on me, so.
Which not want, not.
That's right. Okay, so it's blacker still, right? Two more pencils here. 10B. Is that coming through on that camera, the gradient? Okay.
It's almost like a grayscale, sorta.
Yeah. And my last pencil, the 12B, the darkest one in this pack.
Subtle, but you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's how I achieve the range that I do. And it's important to have a wide range because contrast is being one of the most important concepts in visual art. Wherever the area that has the highest contrast, like a white against a black, that's where the eye will be drawn to first subconsciously when you see an image like this. And then, so if you don't have that contrast, you have a very flat kind of composition. And let's see if I have anything example. This has early works in it too. There may be a flatter piece in this. I can show you.
I think your leaves would be flat if it weren't for the gold leafing and some darkening.
Yeah, so far it is flat, and really the only black spots I have are this right here and this bead. But I plan to have this line where the shadow comes under there to be very dark.
I didn't realize it wasn't done.
Oh yeah? Oh yeah, each bead, this is probably only 25% done.
Oh,
if I had
okay.
to guess at it, so. But the door there, that is done. And the staircase beside of it, that's probably like 60, 70% done. I gotta do some shading on that. But whenever I use the gold leaf, I try to get the gold leaf down first onto clean paper. Because I think it adheres better. Like if I try to put it over this graphite here, it'll have adhering issues. So yeah, I'll put the gold down first and then come back with the shading on top of it. And I don't know of too many people that do that. That's kind of a new thing for me. I've known of people using the gold leaf and other types of leaf in their paintings and drawings. I haven't seen too many come back and work on top of it. So maybe it's a thing, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm starting something. I don't know. Yes, here's an example of a piece with low contrast. So there are areas in this piece that I could have really made dark. Some of the deeper recesses in the folds, I could have just lined that out and really made that pop. And especially down in here around the logo, definitely could have made that a little darker. But I'm fine with that. That's something that I can then scan in, run it through Photoshop, and increase the contrast in the areas that I need. That was for a logo. Okay, so now I've done this. Oh yeah, okay, so the rest of the materials I use, and these are definitely necessary for what I do. These are blending stumps, just made of cotton. You could also get a version called a tortillon, which is more like rolled up paper. Does the same thing, so all it does is just pick up the graphite there and move it around, you see. You could also do this with your finger or toilet paper, Q-tip, anything really, but so they come in different sizes. But something to consider when you're using these is that if you're blending a darker shade, well that pencil's value will be on the blending stump. So be careful if you're working in a lighter area not to come in there and add a dark one by accident. So, but if you do get it on there, they can be sharpened. I got a piece of sandpaper that I just run this over bring it? Nope, I did not bring it. Or you can put them in a pencil sharpener and sharpen them like that, or cut them with a knife or whatever. But
You
this
use
is,
an emery board
what's that, emery board?
to file your nails, that gritty paper.
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah.
case you don't have sandpaper.
You could use the ground or anything really. I've done that, like rocks or something. But, and so this is how I achieve those smooth gradients, like you see here. Just to get all that. I think I used toilet paper on this one to get that wide area, that coverage. But in smaller things like this, sometimes I don't even have to put the pencil down. I'll just use whatever graphite is left on this blending stump, and you can create an effect or outlines just with that. So those are the blending stumps. Let me just speak on the erasers that I use. Everybody's seen one of those. Those are just your plastic rubber erasers. And they can pull a lot of this graphite off, even the darker down here. I think you pull a streak out. I have a little trouble with this one, but eventually you can start to pull it out. There you go.
Mm.
Yeah, you have to pick up a lot of it though. Okay, so it's very good, and it'll take it down to the white of the paper. And then the other one is a kneading eraser. And to make it do its thing, you do what it says, knead it, like dough. One, you can shape it into a point, like so. Get very fine little dots.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
That's, my years of doing art and selling materials, I've never seen anybody demonstrate what that does.
Really?
Yes, I'm impressed. This is amazing.
And then another thing,
Had no idea.
you could shape it into an edge, a sharp edge there, and roll it, and you start to pick up that.
Wow.
And okay, the biggest advantage of this is that whereas this eraser picks up the graphite in smudges like this one picks the graphite particles straight up off the page perpendicular. So you don't have to smudge it, but you just rather pick it right up. No smudging involved, right? And you just keep doing that. So this one right here, this one had trouble picking up.
Wow.
How long did they last?
I have been using this one for over a year.
Are they expensive?
No.
No.
A few cents, really. So yeah, this is okay. You could spread it out too and use the whole surface of it to get it to pick up larger areas. And it has a texture of its own. So you can achieve very smooth gradients, just picking up a little bit at a time. And so these are the essential tools that I use to achieve a lot of this realistic look. And so yes, it's very important to know your materials and know what they can do, So. As far as this gold leaf stuff that I'm using, that's, I had to learn those materials as well, because it's not just the gold leaf that you use, you have to use an adhesive, and there are many types of adhesive out there. There's just regular glues, Mod Podge, I've heard people using, but this stuff,
What's Mod Podge?
it's like just a white glue. It's acrylic based, so it's acid free and all that. So this is what I like to use after experimenting with many different sizes, is what they call this adhesive. But it's especially made for leaf. It's the Speedball brand. But something I've found out is working with this gold leaf and this adhesive is I like to work it thin so that the end product is very flat. You can put this on thick, but if you do that, the leaf that you put on it becomes spongy. And I really can't go in and do my thing on top of the gold leaf because it digs in too much. So I really want that nice thin coat of this adhesive. And this is what I do. And this is simple. The idea is simple. You just paint it on. Anywhere like that. And it's clear, so you really can't see it unless you're in the right light there. That shimmers, but so yes, I want to make it as thin as possible. This is really the ancient art of gilding, which is adorning an object with metallic leaf of some kind. You can get all kinds of shades, colors of leaf. There's a few I have, a few packs, and this isn't very expensive. The imitation leaf is like a pack for $10 or $8, depending on the shade of it. There's flakes even. So I like this. What is it called? Variegated?
Variegated.
Okay, where it's two tones or multi-tone.
It's been treated with a chemical to give it a gradation of color, like it's been exposed to oxygen. Like when copper is exposed to oxygen, it becomes variegated with greenish hues.
Or like heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the leaf I use. And it's very light. It's very, very thin.
Use it with a brush?
Yes, there are brushes that you can use with this. I mean, it literally just floats. It's very, very light. You're welcome to feel this if you like. This is I pass this around my demonstrations at the tourism
Do you
center.
find it a challenge if you get glue on your fingers and you're trying to lay it down? Yeah.
It's over. Game over.
Yeah.
See that? And I always joke around with the tour group. I'm like, I'm watching you. Better not check your pockets. No,
Oh,
they
you
love
lost
it.
it. You lost it.
Oh, I lost
Look
it.
at
Look at that.
It's
Yes,
floating.
that
It
light.
looks so pretty floating.
Floating in the air. It's awesome stuff. Very fragile too. Look at that. That's it's static electricity.
Thank you.
Can you use a wet
It's very
brush
fun to play with.
and brush on it and get gold that way that you can brush on and stuff?
There is something called a wet brush technique with this stuff, but it's after you've applied it and you're trying to get that finished and rub it in there really good. Take it on the paper.
You should put it in there too now.
It wants to stay.
Some gilders use bamboo brushes
Yes.
and they rub it in their hair so the static of the brush will pick up the leaf very easily and lay it where you want it to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. Oh, let me use that. So I'm just taking a little bit now and just for demonstration here, just lay it on this little area. Once you get it on there, just push it in real good.
Now, does that have the adhesive on it? Or the glue stuff?
The paper, yeah, I painted just a little bit on here.
But not on the brush?
No, no, Not on this brush, I used a different brush to paint it on. This is a dry brush. And this is the dry brush technique as opposed to the wet brush technique. After you've applied it, and especially if you apply it on an object, like a piece of glass or a cup or whatever you're trying to make decorative, some people come back with a little damp brush and kind of do the circles and polish it and make sure it's really smooth and very flat. I don't want to put a lot of water on my papers for obvious reasons, but so once you get it on there, you just brush it until the excess just kind of rubs off. All you're left with there is that gold.
You save the excess?
Yes, I do save the excess. It's still good. I've got a little container of it at the gallery. And the reason I use it, other than it's still good, is I could have laid just a whole sheet down here, and it would have covered the whole thing. Okay, and then I would have got whatever pattern is on there. That's what you would be seeing. But if you use the smaller flakes, you get the broken up kind of texture to it. So it adds a little dimension. That's why I like to use the smaller pieces sometimes. So there it is. That's basically how I lay the gold on there. There's gold everywhere now. It's awesome. And then so if it's flat enough, like I've been talking about, then it's possible to take a pencil and draw on it. So now I can shade certain areas of it.
Did you do that with the window panes on the door in the,
I did, yeah.
so that was gold underneath?
It was a solid, yeah, gold rectangle. All right. Except for that top window area, but yeah, the panes, and even my signature, this floor, I still have to come back, put the boards, the lines through there. This one, okay, this one was a very good lesson right here for me about working it very thin and not having it be like mushy and puffy, because I've actually had to go over this, replace the gold. You don't know about this, Jeffrey, but you thought it was done at one point. Well, around through here, I had to actually scrape up all that gold and reapply it.
Wow.
Yeah. And luckily, it was thick and spongy enough that I could scrape it up. So I was lucky in that aspect. But,
Could you explain to them what inspired you to do that? Because
No, I haven't. About an hour away from here is a place called Shaker Village, and me and the other two artists in the group, we went there and did a little festival a couple months ago. And so as I was walking around, I saw this door on one of the buildings, and I wanted to do some pieces that were from there, inspired from there. And so this was one of them, just some unassuming door, just some no-name door. And so I did that. I did the lines, I set my ruler on there, took my very hardest pencil that I had in my set, which is probably like a 4H or something, and just kind of ran a line, and then come through with a darker pencil and go in that little groove and just make it a little bit darker. This one is also from there, and so are the bees. They're all Shaker Village inspired. But this is the grand staircase that they're kind of famous for. It's a 3-story, all wooden double staircase. And so back in the day, the ladies would go up one side, up and down one side, and the men would go up and down the other side. So, so that's one of the views. This is on the 2nd level, going up and then coming back down. So I can't wait to get that one done. It's almost done.
First I thought it was a piano,
Yeah.
and that the curve was sort of a take on a clef. I mean, that's to me a very musical look to it. And until you said there were steps, I didn't see them.
Yeah, I've heard like harps and guitars and things, and that's kind of what I was going for, that very subjective kind of feel for that. It could be
Creative
anything.
interpretation.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I'm glad you
Subjective
achieved
is
that.
harsh. To me.
Let's see, and then, so yeah, you know, this is the variegated, but you can get solid tones. There's copper, there's gold. I know they're not in there, but there's a solid tone.
Mm.
But I found that this variegated has like elements of blue in it, which is like a little gem. You probably can't see this, but I like it when that comes through sometimes. And so that's my process basically. There's one other thing that I can do to this to add some dimension to it, and that is scraping the surface of it. Let's see, is this coming through on the camera? So you can still pick it up a little bit, erase it if you will. So I can pull out highlights here, say that was curved. So I can lighten that up like that. And that's in fact something that I have done on this piece over here.
Mm.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet. That's gorgeous, Brian.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you can see in here on the feathers, they have little scrape lines in there to kind of represent that little feather texture to it. And this is one of the pieces that I've kind of set up for a demonstration too. This one that I was demonstrating at the tourism center for the tour groups, and it's just something I add on to every week, you know, once a week. So, but in preparation for today, I've already added size on here. Probably can't see it that well, but you'll see it once the gold leaf is applied to it. So, I'll go ahead and do that for you. Like I said, I like using the flakes and getting the different textures in there. There's a piece with some blue on it. So I don't have to worry so much about applying it perfectly, because the foil will find the adhesive itself. I just gotta move it around.
So how long does the sizing stay tacky so you could do that?
Depending on how much you put on it and what you're putting it on,
Okay.
it recommends that at least 15 minutes to get tacky for basically the waters or whatever out of the solution to evaporate out, right. But it can stay tacky up to, you know, like 5 days.
Really?
Mhm.
Wow.
But there is a point where it will dry up and it'll just lose its tack.
Yeah.
I think I might have got all the areas there. And I can feel it. I can feel where there's tacky stuff like that. Now that I have all of, oh wait, I see one more spot. all the adhesive. Just rub some of it off. Okay, so there.
Can you get those gradient pencils in colors besides black? So that you would get,
Like color pencils,
Mhm.
get them in different grades. You know, I don't know about that.
I don't think so.
Huh.
Not,
Oh, that's
when I was in the
good.
business,
Yeah, I like-
it only came in the graphite scale, and then you could buy a white, what's called white charcoal, which is an oxymoron.
Yeah.
But it's a white pencil that's made with white clay
Mm.
that you can incorporate in your set too. You can buy various shades of greens and various shades of yellows,
Yeah.
but you can't buy hardnesses of colored pencils, they just
Right.
don't come that way.
Yeah, I imagine they have to be a certain specific, like fixed
Yeah.
hardness, so. And then, last thing I'll do, go through, just add some very fine details. And this is a part of my work where you don't see it from afar. You really gotta get up on it and see all of the detail in there.
On average, how long does it take you to finish a piece?
Anywhere from a couple hours to a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks even. I've had some pieces that I've had 60 hours in it, 60 to 80 hours. Really just depends on the complexity of it, size, and factors.
What got you started or interested in art at all?
Art at all. As a little kid, I started drawing the comic book characters first, but I remember I have a brother and sister, and we had this large roll of paper as kids growing up, and that my grandma got us, and it was, you know, that large and that big, and so we had all the paper that we could ever use during our childhood to just draw and color and that.
Where did you grow up? Was it locally?
Yes, here in Berea. I've been here since I was 5, so I've grown up here. So, but yeah, that was the one piece art equipment supply that was most crucial to my development. My brother and sister, they're creative as well, but that was the most crucial piece of supply that we could ever have had. And so I'm gonna get one for my little girl, so she does the same.
Was that like butcher paper?
It was like butcher paper. I think she worked at like McCall's back in the day, and so they had some of it. But it wasn't waxy or anything. It was just regular roll of paper.
The only other person I've ever known that grew up in that same way, with their parents had the big roll, was here in Berea.
Yeah,
So that's so funny. I wonder
that's
if
interesting.
they were getting it at the same place.
Maybe it's a Berea thing. And it's interesting, this gold leaf stuff, how it could just transform just a regular, ordinary piece into something that you want to keep. Because what I'm demonstrating this on right here is just a cheap little photocopy I made. It's not even correct. You can see the lines in it. I have to align my print heads or whatever, but that's just a cheap photocopy. And now it's like, I want to hang this up. I want to keep it, so. But there's that.
It's amazing, Brian, I'm very impressed with that, I hadn't seen that yet.
Yeah. And I also have put a little bit on this bee one already too, some adhesive, so there's another little surprise for you. Let's see, there's some. Wouldn't that be?
And it comes in all the colors of metals, right?
Yes.
Like aluminum and
combination.
rose gold and all those kind
Oh
of, yeah.
my goodness, yeah. And something that I haven't done yet with it was paint it, which I actually have a piece that I'm working on now, which I'm planning on doing, tinting this a bright pink color, like a hot pink. And it's like I'm finger painting now. It's cool.
Is it very expensive?
It is not. You get a pack of 25 sheets for anywhere $8 to $10. Yeah.
The real gold, you could buy real gold
Yes.
leaf, edible gold leaf,
Right.
you know, but the real gold leaf right now is between $50 and $75 for a pack of 25, depending on where you get it.
Yes. So
Yeah,
I'm
But
just,
this has the same-
Sweets from India.
Gold leaf, yeah,
That's silver,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, so it's edible.
yes. And that's fun to play with too, the edible
Wow.
stuff.
Does it have the same look, the same effect?
It's the real,
the luster of it.
it's the luster, yeah, it's the luster, it's very glamorous looking.
Mm-hmm.
More so. But for what he's doing, the sort of a natural effect of the metals, he's doing he's doing great with it, the colors that he's using.
Especially if I want to draw on top of it,
Yes, exactly, yes.
I would be more apprehensive of drawing on actual
Oh,
gold.
actually, yes, yeah.
But yeah, this served
Well,
my
I wouldn't
purpose.
have known the difference.
Yeah. Maybe I can just I'll just increase my price range.
Yeah. And that too would affect
Yes.
the art too, is the cost that he would like, how much he would charge for that owl if he was using the real old leaf. But it is available, it's easy to get.
Okay, so there's a couple
Oh,
more
wow.
of these.
Wow, wow,
And now I'll come in with my pencils now and just add the details to them. If you get a chance later to come up and really look at this, you can see like individual hairs that I've drawn, or basically just scratched out. Just like that, just the hair on the back.
Can you just go ahead and invite people to come up and get a closer look?
Yeah, you may, yeah. Anybody wants to come up and look at it, or try their hand at this, like you're more than welcome to put some down and take it home with you, you know? So. And if anyone out there watching this wants to come see this in person, they're welcome to come down to the Gallery 123 on Broadway there and check out the studio and get a really close look at this stuff. I kind of scratched this out before I come in with the pencils, just so that the pencil can go inside of those scratch marks too.
Do you have a formal background in art?
I don't. It's just things I've picked up over the years. I like discovering little tips and tricks. Like, okay, I'll give you a secret. This one's for free, okay? Something that I'm going to teach my students here in a couple classes is an erasing technique. Sometimes you'll have an area in your drawing that is very dark, yet needs a sliver of light to come through. And maybe you didn't plan it, or you forgot to include that in your steps when you're doing it, because it happens. But what I've made here is just a little mask. Just cut a little slit here with my knife. Okay, sheet with this. And so you lay it over your dark area like this. Okay. Take your rubber eraser or your plastic eraser. this will get down in there. Some of these areas you'll have to push really hard with your eraser. You don't want it to go outside of the boundary line, you'll stay within the lines. So you can get a really white, crisp, sharp sliver out of that. But that's, so yeah, discovering little things like that is really neat. What else? What else?
So it's like the backward stencil.
Pretty much,
Instead of
yeah.
adding color, you're taking
Taking
it
it
away
away,
in
right.
very precise.
I like that. Anti-stencil. Let's see, I don't know, do we have time to do the? Probably not. I was gonna try to do it on this large one, but, yeah, if anyone has any more questions, open to questions.
Was the gold so much
Oh, I'm glad
when
you
you
said.
take it home?
I'm glad you said that. After the gold is done, there is something like this, which is a sealer, just a top coat you brush on or spray on, but it'll keep it from tarnishing, becoming brittle and coming off. So yes, there is something I'll put over top of this gold leaf to preserve it.
Can you spray that on metal if you attach something to what you've drawn or taken?
The sealer?
That spray, yeah.
Yes, yeah, you sure can. I mean, I think that's recommended, you know, so.
Are your pieces for sale at the Gallery 123?
They are. I have some pieces down there. A lot of my work up to this point has been heavily commission-based stuff.
Mention the auction.
Huh?
Mention the auction.
Okay, yes, yes.
And it's probably,
This door one here, the Shaker Village has agreed to buy that original, but I'm going to make prints of this one, and that'll be for sale down there at the gallery and online. But it's also going to be included in the Murals of Berea, which is a local group here. They're having an auction for their doors, which they painted, and so that's going to be one of the door prizes. You know, so. But yeah, they're doing that this coming month on the 8th down at the Folk Center, so if anybody's interested in that, I'd invite you to come down to that. So it'll be a big deal. Lots of doors, food
Is that
trucks.
in the evening?
It is in the evening from 6 to 8 on the 8th. Right.
Yes.
Yes. And
no admission, right?
yeah,
It's
free
free.
to come join.
Yeah.
So
We want you to win those door prizes. We have a lot
yes,
of
we have a lot of door prizes, so a lot of things to give away. A lot of beautiful doors made by artists from around the community. We're just a bunch of members just getting together, doing art for art's sake, I guess, and raising the awareness. So.
What's
Thank you
the-
so much. Oh, go ahead,
Oh,
Jamal.
sorry. What's the most difficult part of like being an artist for you?
Time management. Yes,
Getting off food stamps.
there are so many projects that I want to do that, and this is common with a lot of artists I talk to, so many projects that you get presented with, and you want to do them all. You don't want to let one go by, whether it be the reason or for the money or whatever have you. And so something that I've been learning through this program, being with the gallery this year, is to really limit what projects I take on, you know, try to work that into the schedule. So, you know, I'm still working on it. I'm getting better, I think. I've actually had to turn a few people away, which broke my heart, but
Brian is so talented and amazing. Just, I mean, people are just in awe. People that come all over the world to the gallery look at his work and they're just in awe. I think he's going to leave a really lasting legacy with his art. I think he's an important artist in the country, not just in the area, but in the country. I think he'll be recognized as that. I really do.
Thank you,
I
Joe.
really believe that. And I try to explain to the artists too, there's a difference between an artist and a crafter. Artists create, crafters produce. It's two different worlds. Artists stick to a process. It's more of an emotional attachment to their work. Crafters learn a skill and produce. It's two different things. And when you're working with a combination of people in one setting, it's challenging because you want all of them to produce a lot of work. But for an artist, you've got to respect that process for them. And that's what I'm learning as you know, his mentor and his advisor. So.
Well, thank you, Brian. Thank you for being here in Berea.
Thank you.